Hello and welcome to Not Made in China, the podcast all about adoption and the beautiful madness that comes with it. I'm Shaosheen, your host, and today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Shaofan, who was also adopted from China at a young age. We were both raised in the UK and figured why not just come on, have a bit of a chit chat and share some experiences. So without further ado, let's jump into it, and I hope you enjoy eavesdropping on our conversation.
Sweet. We're like experts.
I know, we're pros.
We totally know what we're doing.
We do, definitely not putting things on cardboard boxes.
Oh, God.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming to have a chit chat with me. I know it's been kind of been a long time coming.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when I reached out to you, it must have been like 15 years since we'd seen each other. Or I know every time I see you, we try and figure it out. But I just thought it's lovely to get someone else on who's been through something similar.
Yeah.
And I'd love to just hear a bit about your adoption story, when you were adopted, where from, and all that good stuff.
I feel like I should introduce myself. Yeah, my name's Shaofan. I am an adoptee who grew up in Leicestershire. My family lived in a very small market town. That's where I grew up until I moved on to my A-levels. And when I did my A-levels, I was like, I have to get out of here. I want to be in a city. So we moved to the nearest city, and that's Leicester. But my family is just me, my mum and my dad. I was adopted from Tongling, Anhui province in China. And I was like 8 months old. So small, but also not as young as some of my friends.
Oh, really? Because I was adopted at 9 months, but then I don't... Is it kind of common to be adopted younger than that, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I certainly know that... and again, I don't know how true this information is, but the information that we got from the orphanage was that I had been abandoned when I was a baby, but I was 3 months old when they found me.
Oh, wow.
And that is quite old to go into an orphanage. And I guess my process of elimination is if I was quite young to go in, then I must have been quite old to be adopted. I don't know, but that could be wrong.
But it is interesting though. And when you were left at the orphanage, did your birth parents leave anything for you? Are there any sort of traces of them, or was it more just they just left you there and there was nothing really to trace back to?
I actually can't remember. So when I was a very precocious 8-year-old, I turned 7-year-old turning 8. I turned around to my parents and I said to my mum, when I turn 8, I want to go back to China. And my mum, hook or by crook, made that happen.
Oh, wow.
I celebrated my 8th birthday in China, and it was just this wild adventure. But we did the trip as part of a tour, and then we left the tour separately to do all of the stuff in my birth town. And the information was very, very minimal. It was like just the location of where I was found, and that I think I was found by a police officer, and that my birthday is my birthday. And that's kind of it. I think the name was given to me by the orphanage, probably. That's kind of it, yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting because I think some people like the idea of stupid. Let the siren go past.
Hello. Hi, London.
Welcome. And for me, again, I'm kind of similar. There are no traces of my birth parents, and the orphanage knows nothing at all. But for me, I quite like that in a way, just because then in my head there's not so much to hang on to. But then on the flip side of that, some people feel they'd rather have more information and they want that closure. I don't know how you feel about it.
I think that's funny because I've actually never thought about that. Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways it makes sense that there wasn't enough information. Like when, back in the 90s in China and the one-child policy, it was illegal to abandon a child. So I feel like the information would have been very, quite risky to give. Mm-hmm. But that's quite interesting. I feel like for me at the stage of life that I'm at, turning 30, all of my friends,
You didn't tell me that.
all of my friends are having kids, that I feel like I'm more curious about the stuff that I don't know, and I kind of find myself wishing that there was a little bit more. But I feel, had you asked me that 5 years ago and I'd been a lot younger, I think I just, the lack of information, like you say, is quite liberating. you've got nothing to hang on to.
Yeah.
You don't have your expectations. Like, you don't raise your expectations to, I don't know, potentially have them dashed, because it's quite difficult to trace your family. Even though, like, people are doing it. And I've watched loads of YouTube videos of people that have gone back, found their birth families and stuff. But yeah, I feel similarly, I think.
I think it's definitely one of those things that changes over time. I mean, like we just said, I think when I was younger, I didn't really have so much interest in connecting with the Chinese side of myself, which now older me is like kicking myself. I'm like, you stupid idiot. You had all this opportunity. Your mum taught you the language. You have all these incredible Chinese friends. You have access to that community and just to learn about this huge part of yourself. But then, like, I remember my mum used to walk me to school and try to speak to me in Chinese on the way to school, and I'd be mortified, like so embarrassed. And now I'm like, oh my God, get a grip. What was wrong with you?
I mean,
what is wrong with you?
It was the same for me. I think, but then I'm like, I try not to blame myself too much, because there was so much of my circumstance that, you know, when I look back on, I'm like, of course I was going to be like resistant to that, because I was the only Chinese person in this market town, apart from maybe two other people, one of which a teacher thought he was my older brother, and I had no idea who this person was. And the others were you know, like the Chinese doctor owner or the local takeaway. So I thought, because I had that opportunity too, which now I'm like, oh my God, Shaofan, I just wish you'd tried a little bit harder. But I had a similar thing where my school, like a really good friend of a family friend of ours, came into the school as a Chinese teacher, and he just made a beeline for me. He was like, you're an ally here. And I just couldn't bring myself to engage with that. Had the opportunity to have lessons with him, to do one-on-one in the school, and I just couldn't get my brain there. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I think that only came from wanting to fit in and not wanting to be any more different than I was. But yes, I wish.
I think we all do, but again, like you said, you can't blame yourself or be too harsh on yourself. And kids, you just want to fit in, even if you don't realise it at the time. Just subconsciously, you just want to be like everyone else. And again, similarly to you, there weren't really many / any other Chinese people in my year. There was maybe, I think there was one boy who flew over from China just for, I think from like year 4 upwards. And then everyone would be like, you know, in primary school when they match you up with people and they'll be like, oh, this person's going to marry so-and-so. Like, obviously they were like, oh yeah, you're going to marry him. And I was like, what? Because I'm Chinese. Like, does that mean you're going to go and marry that? I think I named like the most disgusting boy in the school just because I was like, you're going to marry him just because you're English. And I used to really get my back up.
I mean, I had similar cases, like when I was in secondary school. When I was in secondary school, I think we had a Japanese exchange student, and she'd come over, and just one day I walked in and we were sat together, and I was like, hang on a minute, I see what you've done here. But it's just, I don't know. On some ways you're like, I guess you're trying, but also
stop immediately. It is. And again, it's tricky because in school, again, I think there were two of us who were Chinese in secondary, and then it was really unfortunate because we were in different psychology sets, but we both sat in exactly the same seat. So our teacher would get us confused every single time, not only because we were the only 2 Chinese people, looked nothing alike, by the way, couldn't look further apart. But then because we sat in the same seat, and then the teacher would get in such a fluster, she'd be like, no, it's not because you're both Chinese, it's because you both sit in the same seat. And I was like,
it's probably a bit both. Probably a bit both,
that's all right.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, when those things happen, like, I guess, I mean, I don't take offence because I think it's the waste of my energy, really. But it is also a bit annoying because we really don't all look the same.
I think that's quite interesting, isn't it? The sort of when to take offence and when not to. And that's something that I try to sort of incorporate into my own life is I'm quite open when people ask, oh, you've got an English surname or something like that. Because a lot of people just are very curious. And that curiosity is fine, but it's when to identify that curiousness is sort of crossing a boundary, and B, maybe it comes from a place that's a little bit more, I don't know, pointed.
I think you can always tell. Well, usually you
get that feeling in your gut if someone's genuinely curious and they're trying to have a conversation. Whereas if someone's being a bit nosy or their intentions aren't as great, then you can normally tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an awkward one. And I don't know if you ever had it when you go to Chinese restaurants or you're in a Chinese space and then Chinese people come and speak to you. Do you feel guilty? I feel so guilty when I can't speak back, and I feel like such a lemon just sat there like, oh my God, like I can't respond even if I understand what they say. I think someone came over to me once and they just said, oh, would you like tea? And I knew what that was in Chinese, and I knew how to say yes in Chinese, but I just froze up and I couldn't say anything and just felt so embarrassed. Like, I don't know if you've had anything similar.
More and more so. I think as a kid you just sort of like, I don't know, all of that stuff sort of goes over you a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but it sort of went over me a little bit. But certainly now as an adult, like even yesterday, I went to my local Chinese grocery shop and the guy was just, again, really basic Chinese. He was asking me, do you want a bag? Like, how are you going to pay? All of which I know what he's saying. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's that sort of embarrassment makes me really flustered. And even if I know what the response is, I just can't think about it. I don't know. It makes me feel quite sad that I'm like that, because it makes me very aware of our differences. But then I also know that if I'm walking down the street, nobody knows that. That's sort of nobody knows that I can't speak Chinese. They all just assume I can. But it's something that I want to try and change. I've said to myself at the top of the year that I'm going to take Chinese lessons.
Great.
And I'm holding myself accountable for
Good.
that. So
Love
here
that.
we go. But yeah, more and more so, I'm definitely aware of it. And like, even with, when you go out for dinner in restaurants with your friends and everyone's like, you can't, you're just like, well.
Like, who are you looking at? Not me.
No. Thank you.
No, I completely get that. It's such a strange one because, as children, you kind of reject that side of yourself. But then, as you grow up, you want to reconnect with it. But then with things like language, it is so much harder to pick up as an adult and it is so much more of an effort. But it's definitely worth it. I think it's great you're going to go for lessons. Have you found someone to go to?
So I actually last year did 6 months of lessons and then I got really busy and stopped. And it was nice actually, and I did the 6 months of lessons because I wanted to sort of try and reconnect with that part of my life. And when I was younger I used to go to a Chinese summer school that my parents took me to, and there used to be Mandarin lessons there, and then there was like, I don't know, through lots of other various events and stuff, I'd had quite a lot of Mandarin lessons, but I'd never really needed to use it and therefore didn't know how much I'd actually taken in. And then when I did the lessons last year, I was like, oh, actually, somewhere in there is quite a lot. And so it made me feel quite good.
That's good.
But definitely taking the lessons came from a place of curiosity, like, I'm getting older and I want to sort of try and find, like, not some answers but some sort of bits that I can
fill in the
take.
gaps a little bit.
Fill in the gaps.
No, I completely get that. And again, as you said before, seeing people get married and have kids, and I'm sat there like, oh my God, like when I have kids, they're going to be half me. Who would have thought? They're going to be half Chinese, and they need to know about their culture. They need to be able to learn the language and have access to that community.
Yeah.
So I better get my arse in gear and try and find out a bit more about myself. And also I want to do it just out of curiosity. Similarly to you, just purely out of curiosity and to understand that side of me. I haven't really had, I have some fantastic friends who are from China, but just since moving to London, I haven't really met anyone else who is Chinese, especially adopted Chinese. Definitely trying to explore more of that side of myself now and like meet more people who've had common experiences, or we have the culture in common, or maybe they can teach me a bit more about it. I'm excited to find out a bit more, but I just feel bad that I haven't done it sooner, really.
Yeah, I think it just takes time. Like I have a group of really, really wonderful friends, some of who you met at the omnibus event, and they've been wonderful. They've really took me under their wing. They sort of have taught me loads about the culture, but just because we really get on as friends, and I've been allowed to be myself and they can be their selves, and you just, when you're in that environment, you learn loads. And then when I was working on a previous job of mine, that same group of people really tried to teach me bits of Chinese on the job. They'd talk to me in Chinese backstage. And it was really, really lovely. And that kind of was quite affirming when you're trying to like work out bits of yourself, just to be surrounded by it. And they know that of my background, but there's no pressure. It's just whenever you catch up, or whatever you understand or don't understand, we'll explain. Or it's been really, really lovely.
It's amazing to have friends who can just embrace you for exactly who you are, and teach you about your culture. And what was it like when you first sort of went into that job and everyone kind of looked like you?
So weird. I feel like I should name drop the job. I joined the cast of My Neighbor Totoro a couple of years ago, and it was something that I didn't really think about going in there. I was like just so excited to be part of that project. And then I entered this space where suddenly, for the first time in my life, people with features like mine made up the vast majority of this room. And it just like, I feel like it changed me quite a lot. It opened my eyes to a lot of things that maybe I was looking for when I was younger, this sort of like, not being unsatisfied, but just sort of not feeling like I really had a place where I was. And then suddenly you're in this room where like we had a very big shared experience of, regardless of whether they were Japanese, Vietnamese, from Hong Kong or whatever, when you are in the UK, there is a shared experience of discrimination, I think, which is kind of sad to say, but it was like quite nice because, you know, growing up I wanted to dye my hair blonde and I really wished that my eyes were a different colour, and then suddenly when you're in the space that affirms all of what you have, you're like, oh yeah, like actually I feel great. I don't have to sort of overly scrutinise the way I look. And then through that I've got so many friends, and I've sort of expanded my friendship group and expanded the way I think. And then I went travelling to Southeast Asia at the top of the year, and again I had that feeling where I was like, whoa, everyone looks like me, and it's just really nice. So it was like really self-affirming, I think. I
think feeling like you belong is just the most important feeling anyone needs to feel. And although of course, like, we are so loved by our families, and we feel, I'm sure, you also feel like you belong in so many other communities. To not be in a world where you look like everyone else around you, I guess until it happens, you don't realise how strange it is that you haven't had that before, or you don't realise what a big deal it actually is. Because I guess everyone else gets to take it for granted. And then for me, I can't talk for anyone else, but for me, I guess I've gone through life and thought, I'm very British, I'm very English. I fitted in school, like throughout my job, so I've never really felt like I stood out. But then funnily, even when I came to your event the other day, I was like, oh my God, people look like me. This is great. And it was really lovely just to look around and feel like you don't, not that I've ever felt like I stood out, but to really feel like you fit in. And I think that was a huge thing. And it's so important. And I think until it happens, you don't realise what you've been missing. And I think from there, I was like, I need to keep pursuing this and try and kind of get in touch with that side of myself.
Like, that being said, I don't try and force it. Like, I feel like there's like this sort of inner capacity where I'm like, right, I really need to sort of immerse myself, and I really want to do that, but then there's sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel quite intimidated by it, and like the amount of stuff that I don't know. And so it's just trying to find that balance.
And I guess it's lovely to then have friends who are there to kind of give you that exposure to it and teach you things when you're ready, as and when. And it's not like you're forcing yourself to just, like, oh, Chinese person on the street, come and speak to me, teach me your ways. Like, no, you've just got a lovely group of friends who hang out with you, and you'll just learn things just by being around them. And I think that's incredible, and that's more valuable than any lesson or any class.
Yeah, for sure. But
you can't force it, for sure.
Because it's that different. I think what I meant by like forcing it is more like there's a difference between you wanting to do it for you, or you just happen to be in the right environment, and you feeling like you should do it because everyone says you should. And that was a journey that I really had to go on, because certainly when I was younger, I was like, oh, I feel like I should be engaging more because everybody says I should. And then because your heart's not in it, you don't do it in the right way. You're not really doing it in properly, and I don't know, like when I was least expecting it, just everything aligned, and I was like, wow, I'm actually really curious about all of this stuff because I've been in this environment, and this environment has given me lots of people in my life that have made me really curious. And I feel okay in my life to now explore all of the things that I want to.
It definitely sounds like it's all like aligned at the right time, and and it's now at a time where you are ready to explore it, and I'm sure things will just opportunities will just pop up naturally, and then kind of go from there. But I mean, identity is such a mad one. It's such a because if someone asked me to describe myself in 3 words, I'd probably mention character traits, like personality traits. I would never say ethnicity, but then I think as I get to know that side of myself more, will that become more prominent, or will that be a bigger part of myself? But again, I don't know if you would feel similarly, or whether that actually is now a bigger part of how you describe yourself to other people.
That's an interesting one because I'm an actor, and when you're sending off all the emails to various industry people, it's something that I try not to mention because in my head I'm like, they will know. My photo tells them, and my name is enough information for them to know that I'm Chinese, so I don't feel like I need to tell them.
Yeah,
and I'm also like, is that information, like if you were to ask someone who's English how would you describe yourself, they wouldn't be like, well, I'm English, I'm white. So I feel like I apply that to myself. I'm like, well, why would I do that? Like, that's a part of me.
Yeah.
Hopefully, my personality is the rest.
No, of course, 100%. No, I always say, I think although genetics, of course, play a big part in who we are, it's our environment and the choices we make and the people around us and what we do. That's what makes us who we are ultimately. But. And I mean, going all the way back to kind of childhood, did you have many other adopted Chinese friends growing up?
Yeah, I did. Hello.
I
did. Yeah, my parents were part of an organisation called Catch, Children Adopted from China. The name is Catch All. I think they've sort of broadened the scope. And through that, there were so many connections that I made. There was a very, very good friend of mine that I would refer to as my younger sister, was part of that organisation as well. And through that, we met some more people that ran a Chinese summer school that was down in Sussex. And so I had lots of opportunity to meet people that were from the same background, and all of those big hotel reunions that Catch used to do. It was like, as a kid, it was just amazing. You could just run around this hotel with kids that looked like you. You had no idea really why you were there.
True.
But that definitely was so important to me when I was a kid, just to have that crazy weekend with people that shared this experience, that knew how I felt. And but now it's completely different. I'm still in touch with a lot of the girls that were sort of my generation of Catch, but we've all gone off into our different lives and doing very different things. Some of us are having babies, some of us getting married, others of us are traveling the world and living lots of adventures. But it's just like, I know those people are there if and when I need.
That's amazing. It's so lovely to have those people who you can just rely on. And again, you might not see them for months, years, but then, I mean, you never know who's going to pop up.
I know, and that's why it was such a surprise when you got in contact, because I was like, I feel like we saw each other quite a lot when we were younger. And then and then it's just interesting to know, because when we were younger, I feel like, the purpose of us meeting was set up by this organisation that linked all of our parents and our parents' experience of going out and adopting us. Whereas now when you meet as adults, you've got your own identity, you've got your own life, your own stuff going on, and it's just really nice to reconnect with all of that, rather than this is my background, it's the same as your background.
No, it's so true. I think it definitely, when you're introduced as children, it is very much like, oh, you're both adopted, this is great, you can bond over that, and that you've got that in common, you will be friends. Whereas, exactly as you just said, now we're all doing completely different things. We have our own lives, our own identities, and but it's also still lovely to know we do have that shared experience, but that's not like our whole personality. That's just something that happened, and it's a part of us. But yeah, those reunions were so much fun. I used to love them. Like it was Hinkley Island Hotel, and then the rotunda and going up and down in the lift.
The rotunda and running up those stairs. They used to go round the sides, didn't they? And then you just like, I remember thinking, oh my God, I can stay up as late as I want.
So fun.
Running around this hotel, and you'd be like, all the adults are asleep. And it's the one time that everyone's like, well, I trust that you'd be safe because everyone's here. I mean, it was crazy. And the swimming pool.
I forgot the swimming pool was a thing. Oh my God. I feel like every time I tried to go, it was like shut, or there was some issue with it. But that was, it was like...
It was just the whole experience.
You peaked if you made it to the swimming pool.
Yeah. And then it was like... It was interesting to watch how that develops. Like, you know, going when I was really young, and it was just really fun. And then sort of as everybody got older, they had to start thinking of all these like teen groups and how to... And just watching it develop as we were. Do you know if they still run those? I don't know. I feel like there's the last one is this year.
Yeah, I haven't seen loads about it, to be honest. And it's, I guess, the beauty of it when we were younger was that we weren't really thinking about the fact we were Chinese. We weren't thinking about the fact we were adopted. We were just having fun, and we were there because we just enjoyed it, and we were there with our friends and people looked like us, but we weren't consciously thinking, oh, I'm here because I'm adopted. Whereas I can imagine if you go more as a teenager and there are all these activities, they probably are more focused around adoption and being Chinese in your background, which is great in so many ways. But yeah, I think as a kid it's really nice because you're not really consciously thinking about why you're there, you're just there to have fun.
Yeah.
And then as a teen, I guess everything does start to become more, okay, we're here because we're all adopted, and let's talk about our experiences, and there were more workshops and I can't remember on what exactly.
I think it's interesting though, isn't it, because I feel like I did know why I was there, but there's such a like, I mean, you're a child. There's a disparity between actually what that means, reality, real world, but then in your brain you're just like, we've all got this thing, and it's still great fun. And and all of those seminars, like, I think I spoke in one of the seminars, like talking. I know, I was so young. I'm like, why did people listen to me? I feel like I spoke in one of those seminars, and it was like there was a lot of questions from parents about what the experience is like, and like it was just to have that environment where you as an adoptee had the opportunity to just have fun, and that never come up with your peers, and then, you know, for the parents to feel comfortable enough to like ask questions about it.
No, it was a great resource to have, and my mum and dad used to always love going to the... No, actually, my dad, did he go? Now I'm thinking back, I don't think... Did he actually go to any of them?
My dad went to a few. My mum went religiously.
Well, she went to all the seminars anyway, and it was really useful. And it must have been, as much as it was valuable for us, just as valuable for the parents too. Yeah. So they can obviously talk to other parents and go to these seminars, and it is really useful information. But I didn't realise you'd spoken in a seminar. Good for you.
I'm fairly sure I did.
That's
I
great.
was I remember doing it with a couple of other girls on there, but I don't know if I'd do that now. Like, that's quite scary.
Yeah, fair play.
Which is
ballsy.
just sort of an indicator of like where your brain's at. Oh, this is just fun. And then there was one where like Jacqueline Wilson went. Do you remember that? I've got a book signed.
Yeah, but they did the you could apply to be a junior reporter, so I applied for it, and then we got to do like a little interview with her. And I asked, I think I asked her, like, would you ever write a book about a child adopted from China? I think the answer was no. No, I'm joking. But she said no. She was talking about Tracy Beaker and saying how she went through the foster system, so that's kind of closed, which is so true, actually.
It is true.
And I guess, she's one of the few authors who actually really, or children's authors who addressed a lot of real life issues that people go through, or issues is the wrong word, different circumstances and different family setups. Yeah. So that was great. But
I loved Tracy Beaker, and I remember in the TV show there was a Chinese girl in it, and I was like, oh my god, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you remember which character?
Cannot remember the character. Cannot remember their name. I just remember in 1 or 2 episodes there was a Chinese girl in there. I feel like I really want to
I wanna
look that
watch
up.
it
I'm going to look it up and watch it and send it to you if I
Spend the
find
rest
it.
of my night just watching Tracy Beaker. But it was good when, I completely forgot Jacqueline Wilson came. That's really cool. I remember getting a book signed as well. I can't remember which one it was, but I think I've had to throw out all my, as I should have done as a 27-year-old woman, but throw out all my old books, or give them to charity. I'd never throw books away.
Yeah.
But had so many.
Yeah,
we just
I
like
need to get rid of some
reread
of those as
them.
well.
Look at my bookshelf. I'm like, definitely not there.
I feel like my mum's like held on to lots of them in the hope that when I have kids we can give them down. But
Oh, that's really nice. I think we've got a drawer at home of like memorabilia from when my parents got me from China, like little like baby grows and whatnot and dolls. And I think, the idea is that the grandchildren, puppy, will have them at some point.
Yeah.
But,
We've got a little like sewing basket, I think.
No way.
It's got like all of the hotel bits that my mum was given, and there's like some clothes and bits and bobs, lots of photographs. I mean, I still got the photo album in my house down in London.
Oh, that's nice.
Which I don't know why I've got down here, but it's here
It's
with
nice.
me.
It's nice to have it with you, especially I think in London because we all move around so much. You don't often end up having proper like home things, but it's nice to have those. Those memories with you and
But it is odd. It is weird looking at the photos. Like it just feels like I know that's part of my life, but it does feel like a completely different person.
I bet.
Yeah, when you look at them, you're like, oh.
Like nice photos, but you don't. Like, do you feel much connection to them when you look at them?
I think I just feel like, particularly the photos of when I first arrived in the UK, I look completely bewildered. And when I look at them, I'm like, no wonder.
Yeah, fair play. Fair enough.
Play. I'd be bewildered. And then, like, I used to get my mum to tell, like, one of my favourite stories that my mum would tell me is the story of how she came to get me. And there was always one bit when she, like, just would describe the way I just cried all the way. And I'm like, as an adult, I'm like, no wonder, man.
Yeah. I think anyone would cry.
Yeah.
I think I was the same. I think, I was crying when I got handed over initially. But it's so fair because you've been, again, I think I was 9 months, you said you were 8 months. I mean, it's such a huge thing to go through just to be past everything you've known.
Yeah.
Suddenly that's it. And no explanation. You can't.
The people look different.
Yeah.
They sound different.
Yeah. They put you on a plane.
Yeah.
That's not stressful at all as a 9 month, 8 month old baby. Like, there's a lot to go through.
There is a lot. Yeah. There's actually because I recently went back into therapy. My therapist sent me this wonderful video, which I've just completely forgotten the name of. I will send it to you. I think I might have sent it to you, but I'll send it to you again. And it was really interesting. And he talks about how, particularly with international adoptions, there's sort of this huge experience of the change in smell, your change in environment, your change in the sounds you hear, the tastes you have. And that was something that I had never really thought about until very, very recently. And I'm like, actually, for anybody, that's such a big thing. Like, when you go on holiday, the first thing you notice is the fact that where you are smells different.
That's so true.
And I'd never really considered that as being quite a big thing. But of course, as a baby, you'd be so confused by all of that.
Definitely. And everyone sounds different. And I'd nenever thought about the smell thing. And it is such a huge thing because, when you go anywhere else, that is the first thing you notice. And so when you come home and you're like, it smells like home. And having to go through that change as a baby with no explanation and you can't rationalise it. And you just have to blindly trust that these people who don't look anything like anyone you've ever known are just going to take care of you.
Yeah.
It's mad, really, when you think about it.
And completely out of your control. And you just find yourself in this situation that you're like, okay, well, I'm here now. Like, have got to go along with what's going on.
And do you know how long your parents were in China after they collected you? Did they collected and make it sound like it's Amazon delivery? Just
No, actually, I don't actually know. No, that's something I don't know. I feel like they stayed a little bit.
Yeah.
but certainly not long.
That's fair.
And there's, I don't know if it's the same for you, but when the orphanage sent out this information about the babies that prospective parents would adopt, they sent them out in pairs.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got this fax of it's me and all of my information and this other girl and all of her information.
Oh, wow.
And it was her family that I was sort of in touch with through Chinese summer school and things for a number of years, less so in adult life, but there was like this weird crossover with our parents where like I think her parents were flying back just as my parents flew out. And there was like a brief moment because I think there's a photo of both of us, but I could be making that up.
I didn't realise they did it in pairs. Do you know why that was? Or
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't really know why that was. Maybe it's like there's two of us in the same cot. I don't know.
Oh, that makes sense. Do you still have all the documents?
I've got all the documents.
Yeah.
I'd be very curious. I've actually never asked anyone to translate them for me though. I know my mum has.
Yeah.
My mum got an old family friend to translate all the documents so we could take it with us when we went. When I was 8. And then we did go back to my orphanage when I was 8, but because I was a kid, I just thought it was this really fun house for girls.
Yeah.
I have such a warped memory of actually what that place was. And I remember playing with this girl with pigtails and I was just like, this is great. Why would anybody want to leave? Which is sad. When you're like, oh, but the reality of it.
Yeah.
But yes, I should get them translated.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And I've never got any of mine translated. I should just ask my mum, really. I think I keep forgetting she speaks Mandarin. But yeah, I always wonder if they wrote anything about like personality or what you were like as a baby. And mine probably just said I ate loads because nothing changes really. But yeah, I went back to my orphanage when I was, I think, 5, so even younger.
Really?
And then I had even less of a grip of what it really meant. I mean, it was interesting going back, but all I remember, again, similarly to you, like loads of babies, and it's really cute, and you get to hold them, and everyone's there, and everyone's lovely, and you just get fed. And
did your mum get any more information about your circumstances when you went?
No, it was more just to visit. But we did also visit the nurse who looked after me, called Swaisha, and she's so lovely. She speaks a very specific dialect, so Mum even struggles to understand, and I've got no hope. But every year I'd wish a Happy New Year in Chinese, and now with WeChat, she can kind of keep up to date with us and send us photos of her family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're still in touch with her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
So she's wonderful, and we stayed with her. I can't remember if we actually stayed, but we visited her and her family. Then went back to the orphanage, and again, it was. I don't remember lots about it, but I would have had no idea what that place really meant.
Yeah.
And I guess at the time, like now looking back, just seeing all the kids who were there, a lot of them who were a lot older than I was, it does hit home a bit, and you think, oh, have some of these people been here since I was there, or what's going to happen to everyone? And yeah, I mean, I'm glad I didn't have those thoughts as a 5-year-old, because I'd have just had a crisis probably.
Wow, you would have been a very philosophical 5-year-old.
Imagine, I wasn't quite that advanced.
Man.
But it's really interesting going back, and I'd love to visit as an adult once I can speak the language a bit more. And,
yeah. Because I would also like to go back, but I want to. I know I'm never going to get to a fluent stage, but even if I get to a stage where I can express very basically how I feel and what I want and things like that, and hold a very, very basic conversation, then I would love to go back. But I don't think I'm not quite at the stage where I want to go back to find my birth family.
Oh yeah, of course.
That being said, I have done a DNA test, and I've got that just sort of sitting there for when I want to do something with it.
That's really interesting, because I bought a DNA test the other day, but then I panicked and cancelled the order. I don't know why, but did. So have you looked at the results yet? If you don't mind me asking.
I actually, maybe I've got it on my phone.
Did you do 23andMe?
I did do 23andMe. So COVID hit, and I was like, Wuhan, which is where it came from, everybody knows that, is the province right next door to mine. And I think I just had a bit of an identity crisis because there was all this there's this huge rise in sort of anti-Chinese racism or anti-East Asian racism because everyone thought we had COVID. And then I was like, oh God, geographically, it's right next door to where I was born. And you know when all the news really hams it up, and they were showing all these very shocking images and back when right at the beginning, and we were all in absolute denial. And I was just a tiny bit of me was like, well, actually, this could affect my birth family, and I would have no idea. And I think it was the first time I became aware of the mortality of actually, if I wanted to find some answers, I want to find them sooner, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if those people are going to be there or whatever. Obviously I hope they are. So I had this identity crisis, ordered a DNA test and sat with it, and I did the same thing. I had it in my bedroom, and for so long, I think it was a good couple of months, I was just I'll do that in a minute, or I'll do it next week. And every single time I came around to doing it, I was just oh my God, what if it tells me something that I'm actually not prepared to hear? But I did do it, and mine solidly says I am 100% Chinese. No doubt about it.
Strong. That's strong. I think I really want to do one, and because a few other Asian people who have said, just people who aren't from China, they've always said, oh, I don't think you look Chinese, or oh, are you from, I can't remember where they said now, but named other countries that aren't China. So I'm intrigued. And I also think, is it just because I don't wear enough SPF on holiday and I just get a bit darker? So I just don't know what it is. It might not be that deep. It might just be you don't wear enough sun cream.
Yeah,
just
when I went to Vietnam, everyone thought I was Vietnamese. And we went out for dinner, me and my partner, literally 2 nights ago, and the woman was like, are you Malaysian? And so but then I'm also the cynical side of me wants to be where are these people from who are saying that you don't look that Chinese? Because the breadth of sort of Chinese faces. When I was in Hong Kong, it was the first time. First of all, it was the first time for me as an adult I'd been anywhere near China, and when I was in Hong Kong, the centre of Hong Kong, with just me and my partner is Irish and Irish British, and I was everyone looks so different. It's so difficult to be you look from here, you look from there, and it was just such an interesting experience, because certainly over here the idea that you're very tall and East Asian is quite a shock, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And everyone's always you're very tall for a Chinese person. I went to Hong Kong and I was respectively, there are girls that are way taller than me. So it's I wonder how much of that is a projection.
Probably a fair amount. You have to take everything with a pinch of salt. And
for sure.
Yeah, I've no idea who these people are. They could, they could literally be anyone.
But it'd be interesting to sort of, I don't know,
I would like to find out. And do you
even
mind
if you do nothing with it.
Yeah, that's so true. And it would just be good to know. And also, it doesn't really change anything. And if anything, it will mean I have something else to kind of look into, and that's exciting. Or I'm exactly who I am, and that's fine as well. So nothing changes.
It was funny because when I told my mum that I'd ordered it, she was very is this because you want to find your birth family? And I was a little bit well, yes and no. It's nice because now I've done it, it's completely within my power to do something or not do something. If I want to, I've got the means to be able to action into something useful, and if I don't, it's fine, because I've still got this information about myself, and it's nice to know that you have that control still.
Definitely.
And when I was doing it, my mum was what if someone reaches out to you and because of the blah 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 database? It's well, no, because you have to opt into putting it in there. And if I don't know, feels like you did a similar thing to me. You were like, right, I've had the idea, and then I'm going to order it but not order it, because I like ordered it and cancelled it like 3 times. Yeah. And then even when I had it, I was like, right, I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah.
And I've got it. I know it's that. I'll just do it in a minute. And like, it's just nice, reassuring to know that like, just go at your own time. Even when you've got the information, you can sit with the information for as long as you want.
And did you do the ancestry side of things, or was it just the genetics? No. Fair, yeah.
I thought about it, and then I just was like, I think it flashes up like, do you want to sign up to it now, or you can do it later? And I was like, I'll do it later. Yeah. I feel like I just want to get the information, and if it tells me something wildly different from what I think it is, then I need to sit with that. And even with the information, it affirms what I knew, which is nice. I also have just sat with. But maybe it's something I want to do in the future. Maybe I will.
It's so fair. I think with birth parents, it's such a sensitive subject, and I think everyone's so different. I mean, I've never had a particular interest in finding them, and I think still now I don't. But I've heard that people, when they have kids or just as they get older, the curiosity increases. But I don't know where you stand on it or how you felt about it.
I still don't know. I definitely, when 2 of my quite close adoptee friends told me they were pregnant, and it completely took me off guard, and by a complete surprise, that I was just like, oh, that's something that I would love to really want to do. It was to have kids. I never really, it was something that I was like, yeah, I'd like to do that in the future, but in my own time. But when these 2 friends told me, I was like, wow, because when that child is born, it's like a part of you, like you're genetically connected to that child, and that sort of genetic connection I've never had, and it's something I really wanted, and that took me by surprise. I don't know if like that necessarily makes me want to find my birth family, because I think I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to find. I don't know if you've got your expectations placed in one sort of narrative that you would like to happen, but actually it was something else. I don't know how I feel about that, because it's so big. That being said, I've read lots of like very successful finding stories and things, but I don't know if I'm mentally there yet.
So fair.
I'm probably a lot closer to it than I was when I was 18.
Yeah.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a huge thing to consider, and there's never like a right or wrong answer, and sometimes it's not a definitive yes, definitive no. You just need time to live your life, and then if it is the right time, that'll come up. But then if it never is, that's also totally fine as well. And as you say, you just never know what you're going to find or not find. And I think to a certain degree, for me anyway, kind of finding my own closure has been the most beneficial thing I could have done. I think my mum was brilliant. When we did my life story book, we looked at reasons why my birth parents might not have been able to keep me, and then she got me to draw pictures of what I thought they'd look like. They're god-awful photos of drawings, but it was quite nice. And then I think I gave my birth mother like a nose piercing. Anyway, I think it is good to be able to find your own closure and then not put so much pressure on finding your birth parents to give you those answers. I think for me, if I did get to a point where I wanted to go find them, I'd have had to have completely made peace with every possible outcome, and the reason for finding them for me anyway, I don't think it could be it wouldn't be healthy if I was going to find them for answers and closure. I think I need to find that myself first, and then if I then go and find them, it's more just curiosity. Like I quite like to know what I'm going to look like in 20 years time, or it would just be interesting to know if there are any personality traits that I have that I've got from them, and also it would just be nice to make sure that they're all right, and see how they are. But at the moment I don't feel like I'd want to, just because I don't feel the need to. But then I'll always have space for that when I'm older, and you just never know. Like, things change, and I guess you've got to be open to anything, really.
But I've never said to myself, absolutely not. And like you say, it is about leaving that door open for whenever you want to go through it. But definitely when COVID came along, it really made me think about if I wanted to explore, trying to find my birth family, that actually that might not always be possible. And I guess that was the same feeling I had when SARS broke out.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because I remember even as a kid being really, really like fixed on it, and I wonder if there was on some levels like a concern.
It's really interesting, especially what you say about COVID, because I feel like a terrible person now. I didn't have anything. Nothing made me think about my birth parents or where I'm from at all. In fact, I felt not detached from it, but I just felt like, oh, that's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, that's the country. Yeah, exactly. That's the country where my birth family are from. That's where potentially my birth family are right now, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But nothing crossed my mind to think I should potentially try to find them, or just the idea of, or just the reminder that we do have a limited time, and when these things happen, it does make us think, oh gosh, should time make life short? Is this something we should explore?
Also, it's like, why would it?
Yeah, true.
Also, why did it? Like, honestly, I feel like the only reason I was like, oh, hello, light switch, was because geographically, I'm from very close to where it broke out. I think that is probably it.
I mean, even so, it's lovely that you did have that inherent feeling of, oh, I want to make sure that they're okay, and it's really nice that you do have that connection.
Yeah, because sometimes I do think like that, and sometimes I don't. There's times when I'm so far removed from anything like that that it just is what it is, and then there's times when I'm actually like actively curious about it. Like when I did the DNA test, I was like, right, so it's 1 a.m. and I'm feeling very curious. I've got to do it now. If I don't do it now, I know I'm going to sort myself out of it tomorrow.
I guess it just comes in waves, and sometimes
definitely comes in waves,
and it's always unexpected as well. Like as we've said before, like things will happen, and then that'll be a massive trigger point for some reason, and just won't know why.
Yeah,
we might cry a bit. Why we don't? Who knows? But it just happens. These things pop up and they poke at us as life goes on, and we don't know when to expect them. But when it happens, just gotta let yourself feel it.
And it's sort of like when moments like that do come up, it always makes me really freak out about sort of the way I live my life, how I choose to define myself, and then suddenly I get all these questions, and then I freak out, have a cry about it, and then it just sort of sifts into a new place, and it just settles. Yeah. And then something else will happen, and the same thing will happen, and it's nice to know. It's nice to know that you can have those moments that really make you question everything about yourself, but then you can come back to yourself afterwards.
Definitely.
And I wonder if certainly one of my worries is if I was to track my birth family down. That's something that is so big that I wonder if, like, it certainly wouldn't be as easy as just like processing it in that way. I'd need something else to help me, definitely.
Of course. I mean, it's such a huge thing, and there are so many unknowns, and it's a very daunting prospect. I guess you just have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, it's also incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
And for me, it would almost be nice to find them for, not even for me, but kind of for them, and not to toot my own horn and go, I'm amazing, don't worry, but just to go back and say, look, you made the right decision, and say thank you for doing what you did, because I can't imagine how gut-wrenchingly difficult that decision must have been. Or maybe it wasn't, who knows, but either way, just to say thank you for doing what you did, because I'll always be. I know the word grateful is often thrown around in terms of adoption, and not necessarily in the right ways. But I think for me, I am grateful they made that decision. As much as it puts, again, abandoning a child is. I can't imagine as a parent what you go through to get to the point where you have to do that. Or who knows? Maybe it could have been the grandparents who pushed it. You just never know. So to be able to have that chance to go back and say, you've done the right thing. I'm all right. Yeah. I'm great. It's not that deep. I'm all right. Don't worry about it. And to have that opportunity would be lovely. And I mean, how do your parents feel about it, or about the whole birth parent thing, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. My mum's always been very, very supportive of any step I've taken on whatever journey I am on. I'm trying to work out who the heck I am. My mum has always been really, really supportive. But I do think that something like that is so big. It is not only big for us, it's really big for our parents as well.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be a reason why to not do it or to hesitate, I don't think, because we're, our mums are on their own journey, we're on our own journey, and yeah. But I don't know. I think it'd be like, she'd verbally be very supportive, but I wonder, I don't know.
And I guess it's one of those things that you'll never know until it came up, if it ever did come up. And I can imagine, exactly as you said, of course, our parents always want the best for us, and anything that's going to make us feel better, they'll fully support. But I'm sure if I ever did turn around and go, actually, I would quite like to find my birth parents, I'd have to sit with my parents and really talk through the reasons why. So I'd want to reassure them, say, like, I'm not trying to replace you. I don't need other parents. Here are my reasons why I want to do it for me. And it's nothing to do with anything that's lacking in my family. It's nothing to do with me wanting to replace you or anything missing. It's more just, it's a curiosity thing, or I want to let them know I'm okay, or it could be any of these things. But I think, a lot of emotions probably would come up that we haven't actually experienced yet, or they might react in a way that I don't know. I think that there's just so much to unpack with that whole topic. And
in the same way that I'm like, say if 23andMe was to ping tomorrow and be like, we found your first cousin, in the same way that I wouldn't know how I would feel in that moment, it is comparable to how I expect my parents to be. It's, because the way sort of a way of thinking about it. Oh my God, English, is that you live your whole life, as this is who I think I am, and these are my parents, and that's your reality. That's how you've lived your life for now 30 years, and I honestly don't know how I would feel if a very real, tangible piece of information came in like that from something that I have imagined for ages. Because obviously I have imagined it. I've thought about what it'd be like to have both of my parents in the same room, or like what it'd be like if if we went back to China and suddenly someone was like, you look very similar to blah, 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 blah. And how that would, because it's all just sort of like a fiction in your head. I don't know how I'd feel if that fiction suddenly became very, very real. And maybe it wouldn't affect me that much in terms of how I identify myself and how I see my family and all of that. But it might just be like having the carpet pulled from under your feet. I have absolutely no idea.
And it's mad, it's definitely that balance between, like, rationally you think, oh no, I'd respond in X way, or with the whole looking for your birth parents thing, I think, oh no, my parents would 100%, they would be supportive, and logically I know that they'd want me to be happy, and anything that was going to make me happy they'd get behind. But then also emotionally, there's so much, what you said before, it throws everything up, and it's like being in a bit of a sandstorm, and everything, it's like, hang on a second, I wasn't expecting this, I can't see where I'm going, what am I doing? And it will take a lot of work to kind of settle that down again before you actually can then make that next step. And same as you, I don't know how I'd feel if I got tangible information about my birth family. I don't know what I'd want to do. I think once I was in Manchester in a Chinese restaurant, and the people working there, they said, they're like, you're the absolute spit of our cousin called, like, they said Lauren, probably not actually called Lauren, but for sake of conversation, that's what they said. You look exactly like her. And my reaction was, I felt so excited about it. I was like, oh my God, like, what if this is like my long lost cousin? I mean, it's quite unlikely that my entire birth family wound up in Manchester and opened a restaurant, but you just never know. And it made me... And it did make me feel really excited. And I was quite young at the time. And the thought of having that connection, and the thought of even though I knew it was the most rogue, most unlikely possibility, it still made me feel quite, I don't know, it just made me have that feeling of belonging again, I guess. And it's like, oh, that's really nice. There is a family out there. My birth family is out there somewhere. And I will look like them. And again, it goes back to that whole thing of, I'm not used to being around lots of people who do look like me. So to kind of the thought of having that, I think that was quite exciting. But not that I think that my family have been in Manchester this whole time. Just in Ancoats,
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like I definitely feel when we sort of talk about this realm of stuff, I am as curious and definitely I seek a lot of, the comfort of being around people that really look like me, and that is perfectly balanced with feeling so intimidated in those spaces and feeling and questioning, like, do I really belong in those spaces? What right have I to be in those spaces? That is perfectly balanced. And, there are times when I'm like, I absolutely love the fact that I'm doing this job and everyone looks like me and we have this shared experience. And then there's the other side that makes me feel so deeply aware of the things that I'm lacking because of my experience. And I don't know if my relationship to that will ever change. I think that's just something that will always be like that.
It's one of those ones. I mean, I'm trying to think of a comparison, because I don't think I've ever, apart from the Catch reunions, I've never really been in a space where everyone else does look like me. But I can imagine, even actually, that when I've gone to, when I went to sort of Chinese summer school, and even being in China, my mum thought it would be a good cultural exercise to put me in a Chinese kindergarten for the day at the age of 5. It was honestly, hands down, the worst experience of my life. They were lovely, the place was great, but oh my god, being put somewhere where you're dressed completely different to everyone else, and despite being Chinese, I stood out. I could not have stood out harder if I tried. I couldn't understand a thing that was going on, and I remember feeling like I was like a beginner at being Chinese. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but yeah, it's like when you walk in, it was almost like my first time walking into orchestra. Like, I felt everyone else was so seasoned, they knew exactly what they were doing. It was my first time playing in an orchestra. I knew I was like good at what I did, like solo. I'm a good flautist, and I knew that. But then going into that, I was like, oh my god! Like, everyone, technically we're all musicians here, we're all the same, but I'm such a beginner, and that's exactly how I felt going into that kindergarten, where everyone looks like me, everyone's technically the same as me, but
no,
I'm such a beginner.
No, I get it. My parents sent me to Chinese Sunday school when I was younger, and I made a really good friend there, and but I had that sort of beginner's Chinese feeling as well, because I was in this sort of primary school level class. I want to say I was in primary school. Yeah, well, I was in this primary school level class and I hadn't got a bloody clue what was going on. I had to get help with the homework, the textbooks. The textbooks now, when I look at them, are so simple. And with an adult brain, you can, even if you don't necessarily understand the ins and outs, you can look at it and go, that exercise is something to do with.
Yeah. And
make that sort of guess. But as a kid, you're like, I haven't got a clue. I don't know what this is asking me. This is just loads of pictures and I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I had that then. I was like, everyone looks like me and I feel really assured by that. But everybody knows what they're doing here and I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
And I had to go around to someone's house, this friend of mine's house, and her parents used to have to like sit with me and go through it with me, and I'd still be like, what? And I have moments like that, when we're in Hong Kong, my partner used to teach out there, and we went all the way out to sort of right on the edge to this school that he taught at, and we were having lunch in one of the restaurants over the road, and immediately the waitress was like, she speaks Chinese. We did the whole exchange in Chinese. I was panicking underneath because I was like, I think I've just ordered what I think I've ordered, but I haven't got a clue. And then she said something to me that was completely off restaurant piece, and my inside was like, oh, this is so embarrassing because I've just managed to hold down this very basic conversation and now she's really thrown me, and it just felt like it is that you're just like, I'm a total beginner. I have no idea.
It's hard.
Yeah,
but it is strange going into a room and feeling like you should just fit in straight away, or you should have that feeling of, I mean, yeah, you should feel like you belong, and you do in some ways, but then also, yeah, in some ways you totally don't, and you're just experiencing these two kind of extremes at the same time. Like on one hand, it's lovely to see people who do look like you, but then on the other hand, you think, like, do I have a right to be here? Almost, yeah, I feel a bit like a phony, or like I've sort of snuck in and I'm waiting for someone to catch me out and be like, she's not real, she's not really one of us. And it's a strange feeling, and I guess that's something that just won't go away, or maybe it will one day. You never know, really.
I feel like it's trying to find that it's again like feeling like you owe people the reasons why you're a beginner, so to speak, but actually that information is entirely yours to choose to give to people, which is something that I said at that omnibus. I was like, this is just part of me, and if I want to tell you, that's my choice. And it's not, and it's not letting experiences like that and environments like that where you're really doubting whether or not you should be there force you into feeling like you should be justifying all of the reasons why you feel uncomfortable, because you don't owe people that.
It's so true. Yeah, no, it's really true. And I guess, when you go into panic mode, you do instantly want to justify things. And sometimes even if Chinese people try to speak to me in Chinese, I'm like, I don't speak Chinese, but my mum does though. And they're just there like, it doesn't matter. Like we didn't ask, we don't care. That's all right. Just what do you want?
Yeah, and it's also that projection, isn't it? Because I know a lot of Chinese people who have lived in the UK and don't speak a word of Chinese because they just haven't, and that was how they chose to get here. So when you're in those situations, people are like, they're probably still. It's hard not to put your projections of what they're thinking into the situation, isn't it? Because I'm always like, oh my God, they're thinking I'm such an idiot. Yeah. And now I need to tell them why I don't speak Chinese. And I've just given them so much information that they're now judging me for it. And it's never the case. They're always like, yes or no. Oh, well, no, she probably just hasn't used it at home. Like, it's just really simple. But your brain has already expanded it into this huge convoluted thing.
It definitely spirals out of control, and then you're just there imagining all these different scenarios, and then they're like, do you want a bag? That's
right, that's it.
But oh gosh, well, been a lovely chat, and thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's good to have a chin wag about these things. I don't really talk about it much, so
no, me neither, actually.
It's nice. But thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, come back soon.